Duckies and Dice Fiends! Welcome to the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show. Emphasis on chaotic today, apparently. Though I do feel like that is our intro most of the times. Of, hey,
Yeah.
things are extra chaotic today. So does that just mean extra chaotic is our normal state of being?
When everything is an emergency, then nothing is an emergency.
Yes. So hello, everyone. We've got all sorts of friends hanging out already. Welcome, JD. Welcome, Rex. Welcome, Vivian. I think that's all who've said hello in chat. We don't shout out lurkers because not every lurker wants to be seen. So we won't do that.
Yeah, but I see you.
We see but appreciate you. We see you in a
Right.
non-aggressive way.
It was a little, I see you.
So hello, welcome to the show. I am Kay, one of your co-hosts. However, the star of the show today, who is very eager to talk about all of this, is right here.
When have I ever been the star? Anyway, hi, I'm David. This is the Chaotic Wholesome Presents show where we talk a lot about things every Tuesday, where every week you can find out how to be a better GM, how to be a better player, how to be a better person, all with a focus on intersectionality and inclusion so that everybody can have a good time.
And David, when can we find you streaming?
You can find me streaming Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, where I will be playing Final Fantasy XIV again. A big thank you again to Ribbonanza and Zycram for ambushing me and carting me around last week, because Lord knows I do not have time to pick up all the flight points before FanFest the end.
And I'm Kay. I'm here and I do this. Yes, fanfare. Also, as always, if things are loud, let me know. If things are too quiet, let me know. We do adjustments and tests, but as we saw, everything just broke. Like, my computer decided I didn't need to hear David today. So we had fun fighting with that. You can find, tomorrow. Holy cats, it's tomorrow, David. Tomorrow. Please be right here at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. That is 2:30 Pacific, 10:30 BST. We are playing the My Little Ponies TTRPG, the Stealing Thunder one-shot that comes in this huge, pink, glittery book. As I tell people, I don't even have that for scale. I don't have a banana for scale. What do I have that's a good... Pixel. Here's a Pixel phone for scale. This is a very thick book, y'all.
It's thick boy.
It's a very thick... here. D20 for scale. It is cover to cover as thick as a D20. Very impressive system. We are playing with of Rivals of Waterdeep fame, DM Jazzy Hands, Urban Bohemian. New to our channel, but not new to me, as I've been lucky enough to play with them for the better part of a year in the Emergency Bar podcast, Pan Stellar Encore. And Candace, the truly magnificent, will also be playing and might even do a musical number or two, depending upon donations and tips. Incredible art, and Domo Jason did the layout. I can't wait for y'all to see the layout. The art is incredible. The graphic design is beautiful. So I am so excited for that. It's going to be Wednesday and the following Wednesday. You can find me here Thursday doing Pokemon. That's all I have for now. Sundays, you can find me at Tavernaz channel on YouTube playing Girl by Moonlight. And yeah, I think that's all I can talk about. I've got a bunch of other stuff coming up. With the exception, I just realized, David, with the exception of Friday, starting today, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 things to play and or record between today and the next Friday. With only Friday.
I am already exhausted just hearing about it. Like, I need a nap.
That's I hadn't really realized. But yeah, that's a pretty long streak. Yes, JD, the art is amazing, and thank you so much to Pan for hooking us up with their incredible artist friend, because she brought all of them the heck to life. I also love that people have been DMing me and being like, of course you'd play the edgelord pony. Of
Yep.
course you'd find a way to be an edgy pony. And I'm like, they're canon! I decided I was a bat-winged pony before they became canon, but that's a whole
Right.
other conversation. They're canon.
Right.
But yes, that is way too much about me, because, wow, I can't wait for you all to hear what I'm doing. David. Now, it's funny, because we had decided we were going to talk about Rules as Written over the weekend. And then we ended up in my Discord server, which is awesome if you're not part of it. Not my fault. I didn't start it. My dear friend Steph started it, and we love her for it. Started talking about Rules Light. And we returned to this Rules. The Rules Light games frustrate me for various reasons, and I want to like them. And I try really hard to like them, and then I get frustrated. And so we've been spending a lot of time like dissecting the rule system and what do these things mean, and like why does this frustrate? Is this a control thing? Is this a consent thing? Like, we've been dissecting that in a really cool and healthy and interesting way, and I love the discussion. And then I was like, well, I guess we're gonna come on now and talk about Rules as Written, which is kind of like we spent a lot of time talking about Rules Light and going like, that's not what that rule is for. That's not what a GM is supposed to do with that. So I feel like we're continuing. The Saucefire, welcome on in. My only rule is that I don't follow the rules, not even my own. I mean, that is the Saucefire game experience. Wonderful moment in a charity game with Saucefire when I had a wand of wishing, and Saucefire's like, the bad guy's like, I'm really weird. We're like, why are you doing this? He's like, because I'm really weird. And I'm like, cool. I use my wand of wishing and use the wish spell to make you less weird.
You didn't make them not weird. You made them less weird.
Well, not weird would be boring.
Listen, if someone's out there being a villain, then I'm gonna need them to be more boring.
That's what I wanted.
Be not interesting at all.
I wanted them to be like, it wasn't not interesting. It was just more boring.
And speaking of villains, because Kay knows I love talking about villains, So I've been listening to a podcast, Behind the Bastards, talks about the worst people in history and how fucking weird they are. Just out there and like ludicrous and like slapstick the worst people in history are. And nothing will gas you up more than hearing about how the most awful criminals, the most awful white men in history and the crimes they've committed, and all they had to go for them was just you know, like in like The Simpsons and in like other shows where you see somebody step on a rake and the rake slaps them in the face, and then they step on it. That's how real life villains work. The only reason that these people become villains is because they're undeterred. It's because they step on the rake and it slaps them in the face, and then they go find another rake and step on it. Like they're like the pivot. Like they are, and not even single-minded. Like fictional villains are so much more interesting, are so much cooler, are so much more engaging. Like,
I just read a whole thing about how Germany had a really, really big supply of, is it heavy water? That is necessary for, like, you know, the development of...
Nuclear development?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the only reason they weren't able to, like, develop it is that Hitler didn't understand that process well, and it frustrated him, so he wouldn't, like, let people do it. That's the only reason that Germany was not much further along in developing.
The same guy at 20 years old walked around town in a complete leather outfit like head to toe leather daddy with a riding crop that he would use to beat both dogs and people. And he demanded that everyone call him Volpe. He demanded that everyone call him Mr. Wolf. Yeah, Herr Volpe. Now, I don't know about you, but if I see a 20-year-old leather daddy walking around town slapping people with a riding crop and demanding that you call him Mr. Wolf, I'm whooping this man's ass. He's not going to be in charge of anything I'm a part of. Absolutely not.
Vivian, I have not stepped on a rake that way. However, I was coming out of a Comic-Con panel it was with the new. I got to be in a panel, front row, recorded all, with the cast of the new Star Trek, like before it was out. And I was so excited, and they were like, they had been emotional, they'd been crying, right? And I popped up, like, out of that, and was rushing back to the hotel room to upload it, because I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this, and I'm like looking at my phone to make sure it's real. And the next thing I knew, I was sitting on my ass on the sidewalk with my phone half in a gutter. Like, I'm really lucky it didn't fall down the drain, because I had walked directly into a street sign.
Oh, I've done that too.
Bam! And like had a lump on my head and was like, okay.
I've both done the thing where like you're walking and talking and like walk smacked into something. And to make it more cliche, it's because I saw a baddie. I saw someone insanely hot, and like luckily I knew this person in real life, so I wasn't being super rude by rubbernecking, but it was like you look and I was like, wow, that person is who really. And then like you look again and it's like, wait, do I know this hot person?
Flames.
Look again. Yes, I know. Wham! Just right into. Yeah, and I've also stepped on a rake. I stepped on both a rake and a shovel and slapped myself in the face with it.
So,
contrary to popular belief, contrary to my genetic disposition, I am not suited for yard work.
So, speaking of rakes and shovels, let's talk about getting hit in the face with rules as written.
Yes. So, Kay and I, despite many differences of opinion that we have about a lot of things, like, you know, how we process our attraction to other people, and how much hot sauce we put on our food. Kay puts way more hot sauce on her food than I do.
I like
because I'm a soft boy. One thing that Kay and I agree on is that if you're gonna hand us a system, we're gonna come up with rules for it. We're gonna look at some rules and be like, this goes in the garbage. We're gonna do it the right way.
What a thing to come in with. Sometimes Cato breaks David when Cato is not in chat and is secretly sending things to David because Cato knows David is trying to run a game or is on stream. And sometimes Cato just shows up in chat and breaks David.
Yeah.
So for those not here or possibly watching the VOD, that Cato just rolled up in chat and said, yeah, but that soft boy loves his hog. In all caps.
There's a tiki-taki with Shannon Sharp, and Shannon Sharp is like, oh man, bacon. And then his very white, very urban co-host is like, what? And then Shannon exposes himself as being super country because he incredulous. He's like, I love hog. And I'm like, he did not just say that. And then he follows it with, I eat every part of the pig but the squeal. And I was just like, yeah, but you tried to put hot sauce on that squeal, my dude. Let's play no game. You tried to put that in the air fryer.
The number of text messages and messages I've received from David that just say, I eat every part of the hog. There was like a week where it was almost every hour on the hour. I eat every part of the hog.
Oh boy. Welcome,
oh my
Raiders.
goodness. Thank you so much for the raid, Jazzy. Welcome on in. We are talking about rules as written, which coincidentally is exactly what we're going to be playing when we play the Essence system. Hey, thank you for the follow, Robo. Welcome. What we're going to be playing when we play My Little Ponies tomorrow. Thank you so much for the follow, Quosum. Look at all these amazing... Y'all, hello. Welcome, Cobot Squirrel. David was just talking about his love of hog. Welcome. Goodness, thank you for all the follows. So hello, we are the Chaotic Wholesome Presents team. I am Kate Purcell, she, they, and I am usually your on-screen GM. Kato, thank you so much for the subs. You are above and beyond. Thank you, King Sundu, for the follow. This is David Lee, my co-host, who is my co-GM. We tend to run most things together. David, I have freed David from the requirement of having to run the My Little Pony game because, you know.
Because my entire essence would implode if I had to do something that was both ponies and full of cringe.
But we will be playing this right here tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Pacific, 5:30 Eastern. We hope to see you. It's going to be incredible. This system uses the Essence system, which is actually my first time running this, so I am so excited. But we have 4 truly incredible performers. And David, who is doing the MLP game. It is going to be our wonderful Raider DM Jazzy Hands, his traditional partner in crime, Urban Bohemian. I am going to be your PM, or Pony Master, for the game. Candace the Magnificent, friend of the channel, and Godplane, Star, along with Herb, is going to be our Earth Pony. And then my friend Pan from the Emergency Power Podcast is going to come in as our Zebra Unicorn. We have incredible artwork, and we have gorgeous graphic design done by Domo Jason. Yes, it is going to be a 4-pony party, and I cannot wait to explore Ponyville with my pony pals.
To be clear, I'm not one of those people who's like, My Little Pony, ew. Like, I'm not. Let's be clear. I fully support the My Little Pony fandom, except very early on in my relationship with Kay was like, so My Little Pony. I was like, I don't. And Kay's like, why the hell not? And I'm like, listen, there are 2 types of My Little Pony fans. They're the people that should be My Little Pony fans, and then there are the men. And that doesn't mean that, like, if you're a dude, you can't be a My Little Pony fan. But if you're a dude who's a My Little Pony fan, you know who I'm talking about. And whenever there's like a serious fandom, a serious community around something that I don't know anything about, and I start to like give it a look, I look at the fans first, because I'm already a video game fan. I'm already an anime fan. I'm already a Star Trek nerd. Like, I got enough toxic fandoms that I am a part of. Yes. I took one look at the men, and I was like,
look,
not me.
I have a lot of dude pony friends, dudes who love ponies, and they're great, and they're awesome. I take issue with the dude pony fans who in one breath say, the all-female Ghostbusters movie ruined my childhood, while also putting out My Little Pony porn at the same time, like actively commissioning and putting it out on the internet without warnings. But yes, toxic fandoms. Welcome on in, Matt.
and I brushed this type of fandom, not My Little Pony specifically, but I brushed this fandom at Comic-Con. So I'm at Comic-Con, and it's Sunday, so people are selling everything for like half price because they're trying to get rid of it. Um, and there was a web comic that I was following at the time that a friend of mine was a big fan of that had a boneless cat. Anybody who's read Something Positive knows that there's like a boneless cat in it. And the dude was there. Um, the guy who made the comic, whose name I can't remember, um, but and he was selling his wares. And so I go over and I'm like, listen, give me one of them boneless cat T-shirts. And he looks at me with just the ugliest mean mug, and he's like, we don't have your size. And I'm like, what you got? And he's like, no. And I'm like, what do you mean no? He's like, I am not gonna have you out here trying to squeeze into a baby doll small. I'm like, yo, the woman I'm trying to buy this for is the size of a ballerina. I would never no offense to you, I would never wear this shirt. I am a fan. You won't catch me out in these streets wearing this. And so like he and I had like a bit of a back and forth, and then he realized that I wasn't one of like those fans, what I refer to in the My Little Pony community as the men. And he was like, and he immediately warmed up, and he's like, listen, it was half price. I'm gonna shave another like 10% off. Here you go. And I was like, awesome, great, fantastic. And so I'm about to walk away, and I turn back and I'm like, were there really like my size dudes who came in here and tried to buy like a baby doll small? He's like, absolutely. Every guy today. They heard that we were out of the triple X's, so they tried to buy a double X when we were out of all the way down to the mediums. And then I saw a guy try to put on a medium. And I'm like,
hey, crew.
On the floor? He's like, yeah. Whipped off his shirt right here and tried to squeeze. And it was at that point. I was like, fair. You were traumatized. You had a traumatic event. And you learned something about people.
No matter what fandom you're in, be cool. Just be cool. Just be good to other people. So to answer a question in the chat, what is the Essence system?
And to get back on topic.
Yes. So the Essence system it is a D20 based system, and it uses all the dice that you are familiar with, right? Including a D2, which is fun. I rarely get to see D2s in action. It is a fun name. It is the Essence system because there are 4 main stats that are all S's. Smarts, speed, social, and strength. So you fill out your S's for your essences. When you do a skill check, you roll a D20, and then you upgrade each of your skills. So your character sheet has, a bunch of the skills like you'd expect, as well as some decently fun ones. Let's see here. This is really cute, too, because it comes with make your own pony little templates. Well, it is Essence, but it's also a fun little pun thing. So your character sheet, when you start out, you get a certain number of pips that you get to fill in, and you use those to upgrade. Hey, Herb, we are talking about the system. Yes, it is correct. That is correct.
Every time we're talking about Herb is like, there's disturbance in the force.
Right? Magically appears. So as you upgrade these different skills, you upgrade the dice that is associated with it. So everything starts with like nothing, and then you get a D2, and then a D4, and then a D8, etc. And so when you roll a skill check, you roll a D20 in addition to whichever dice you have associated with that skill. So it's a little bit like D&D or Pathfinder meets a Savage World, because in Savage World, hey, Jester! Yes, Essence system. I need to specifically set up a streamer bot thing so that whenever Herb appears, we have the sound of a fan snapping open.
Yeah.
And I can do that. I can do that. So in Savage World, instead of having a sheet full of modifiers, you just have a dice that is associated with that skill. Thank you for teaching me Savage World, Candace the Magnificent. And in this, you have a similar thing where you roll a d20 and then you add whatever dice you have associated. So if it's a d4 in that skill, you roll a d4 and you add it together. So it's a little bit less complicated because you're not keeping track of a ton of modifiers. Your modifiers come in the form of a dice roll that is rolled along with your d20. The Smoke and Sexy Style stream. All of the S's. I had to Google it and copy paste. Was furious. Yes.
What the hell?
Chat.
No,
is...
I've been putting in other places and it's not coming up right either. If they change Unicode on me.
Oh dear.
Oh my God.
Oh dear. Uh-oh.
Oh nah, man. I gotta find this out.
So that is the Essence system. We are going to be playing it as close to the system as written as we can. However, it is all of our playing this for the first time because the book just came out. And also it's a stream. And there's a rule of cool that we also have to abide by. And I really want my players to get to do really fun and cool things. So if we're unsure, we're not going to spend too long digging through the book, digging through the PDF. We're just going to say, you know what? That sounds good enough to me. Let's do it. However, we're not planning on changing any rules. Unicorn should be universal. Should. Calling it, though, is always fun. Someone made it, which means someone can change it. Yes.
Yeah, it's 0153. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we have now lost David.
Look, I should not be hung up on this, but I've typed it in
Some
Discord.
things are important.
Oh, is there something on my keyboard? Like,
do you need to Control Shift V?
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Okay. Oh, 01.
How long into the game do you think before K changes a rule? Look, here's the thing. I used to think that I was neutral good. I didn't think I was on the chaotic side. Because, and then, like, an explanation was given to me, and they're like, no, Kay, you use the box to break itself. And I'm like, yes, that's not chaotic. And they're like, I will be very happy to not break the rules. I will be very happy to do the rules as written, but I am going to manipulate the heck out of those rules as long as I can. And the minute the GM tells me that's not how those rules work, cool. Thanks for playing. I abide by your decision. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try. We need a derail emote. Yeah, we've got a, yeah, that's step 1 chaos. Yeah, well, you know, while I was like, it's lawful, right? Because if you use the box, yeah, no, I've been told I'm chaotic. David will be right back. But yes. So, those of you who have sat in on any of our games know that David and I do tend to employ at least a few homebrew rules. We have 100% stolen the Matt Mercer rule of drinking a potion is a bonus action because we want things to go faster in combat. We want people to do more cool things in combat rather than drinking a potion. I told this to a group that I am running a game for who are used to playing Starfinder, and they were like, a bonus action in Starfinder? Drinking... You will lose your mind over this, David. Drinking a potion in Starfinder is a full round action. Because you have to go into your bag, pull it out, uncork it, drink it.
No, it's not.
So when we were
I have a whole rant about this.
When we were like, you can drink a potion as a bonus action, they're like, oh. I can see lawful, like you're using the rules to their fullest extent, to the exact letter of the law, until you find out that's not the law. You know, sometimes. The number of times we'd had another player force a potion down someone else's throat so they could still take their turn. Logar, I have to ask, is that yes it is for a full round action, or yes it is for a bonus action? I feel like GMs always start trying stuff, rules as written, but players are like entropy incarnate. This is true. And again, we are not here to say run rules as written every time, or every game should be run rules as written. We are here. Yes, it is a full action. Ooh, Logar and David can get into it. This is going to be fun. It's going to get real spicy. Yes, they definitely have the childproof caps on in Starfinder.
So, to preface this, I have not closely examined the rules in Pathfinder and Starfinder, but I can talk about potions in 5e. A potion in 5e is 2 ounces. 2 ounce, and a round in 5e is 6 seconds. Now, you mean to tell me, in case like I obviously have time to do things. You mean to tell me that a sorority girl that should have been cut off hours ago can still manage to put down a tequila shot in under 6 seconds, yet a trained professional fighter of any variety, fighter, hunter, druid, you mean to tell me they can't pop a cork off of it and slam it, and it takes an entire right there it is, it's 2 ounces, it's 2 whole ounces.
Now,
Kay made these cool potion bottles.
sorority girl has practice.
And it's got 4 D4s in it, and it's a cool little bottle.
Potion rollers.
I see it. Yeah, and so they're potion, and it was a super cool gift. They're super awesome. I do keep them with me when I'm playing as a player. If that thing was full, and it's more than 2 ounces, and I had to thumb off the cork on that and slam it down, it still would not take 6 seconds.
Now, Starfinder does have it as a full round action because they assume you have to dig into your bag and find it and pull it out. And there have been multiple times. I'm a melee class in Starfinder, y'all. I am a Solarian. I hit stuff. I go down, not easily, but I can't from a distance. So the number of times I've been like, I'm just gonna right now take out a potion and put it in my sash, and I'm like, I don't know if this will actually work. Hey there, welcome on in, Leslie. I'm like, I don't know if this will actually work, but I'm gonna like put it in my sash so that if I need to drink it later, maybe it can just be an action because I'm no longer digging in my pack. I've put it easily available for myself or for someone else. But yes, Logar says they do play a house rule that using a healing potion on yourself is one action, and anything else is rules as written. And I do agree. Like when we play, you can drink a healing potion as a bonus action on yourself, but it's gonna take a full round if you're feeding it to someone else, because pouring even only 2 ounces of liquid into someone else's face hole is a challenge. I am not sure what has David all worked up.
It's Alt 0153, and Alt 3 is a heart, and I keep getting a heart, and why is it missing the other? Anyway.
Starfinder/Pathfinder has an obsession with how many hands you have and are using. Starfinder has gear clamps that you can strap onto you. Yes. Quosum says, thinking of it as a 2 ounce shot plus cork plus dealing with ethanol afterburn, I could kind of see it being distracting enough that you aren't going to take a good swing at something afterwards. Maybe disadvantage/negative to hit, I could see.
So, we've all had something nasty. We've all had cheap tequila. We've all had Johnny Walker Red Label. And we've been drinking long enough. Now, I don't want to speak to anyone who's like under 22 years old, but the rest of us have been drinking long enough to know when something's going to be awful. And we brace ourselves. And again, I don't want to get into like a whole argument about it. Um, okay, Cheese and Kraken says, I think of it as serums being very viscous so that it takes that long to pour it out of the vial. Um, and that's the only argument that I'm like, okay, fair. Because everything else, because like we've all been at a bar and ordered something from the well that we knew was gonna be terrible, but it was $3 shot night, and we were trying to get hammered. We weren't there for it to taste good. We've all been at like some sort of like college frat party
When
where
someone busts out the Jello shot, and you're like,
yeah, there's no Jello in this shot. Like there's some sort of congealing thing. And so we brace ourselves. We know that it's going to taste bad. It's not a surprise. Like you buy a potion from the potion seller, you buy his strongest potions because you have to go fight a dragon, and you at least pop it open and give it a whiff so that you know what you're gonna get into.
chewing honey.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
I had some
and
Russian
so
moonshine one time that was honey, bathtub, Russian moonshine, and it was probably 90% alcohol. But wow, did it taste like honey.
so
And it was thick.
when it comes to like egregious harm, because like there, it is a very valid point. Like when you are in the throes of battle, um like your ability to do things like just like not even injured, but like when your adrenaline is up, doing normal things sucks. That's why in boot camp they sleep deprive you for like a month, and then um and that's when they get you to change a magazine in a rifle under fire. um that's when they teach you how to throw a grenade, because you need to be able to do those things when all you have is lizard brain. Now, as someone who unfortunately has been in that situation where you're hurt and all you have is lizard brain, you can still put down 2 ounces in under 6 seconds.
So, Logar the Ogar makes a great point. It says activating a magic item is a standard action, and potions are a magic item. That
that that defeats my argument, and I am happy to concede that. However, I will always stand by the, if it's a little itty bitty bottle, I got cork in it at 2 ounces, it don't take 6 seconds to get in there and get it out.
So yeah, that makes
But
it
but
make more
but
sense in that it takes the 6 seconds to activate the magic, right? It's less about the drinking. Or maybe it
and
just
and
needs
again,
a
what
kiss
Cheese and
first.
Kraken
Yeah,
said,
romance it a little bit, David. Before you put your mouth all over it.
fellas, we need to learn some foreplay. Like give it at least 6 seconds. Give it at least 6 seconds. That maybe that's the mistake I've been making this whole time. So I'm like, I don't need it a whole 6 seconds. That's ridiculous.
Gotta finesse it a little bit. Drop the magic Mentos and the magic Pepsi and wait for the healing bubbles. There's also some, because healing, so Pathfinder doesn't have healing potions, they have healing serums. And there's actually some debate about like, what do healing serums look like? And some people even flavor them differently. So for some people, so there's a class, probably more than one, but one that I know of, because I don't know Starfinder. I don't know all the classes as well as I probably should. But biohackers can make potions. They can make these magic items. And you can flavor that your healing serum is actually an injection. And let me tell you, you go a little bit slower when you're sticking a needle into your body.
Depends on where the needles go. Look, if you've ever watched a man take gear in a gym, they're not careful.
Well, I've seen
They're
men
just-
do a lot of dumb things in gyms, David. I used to be a sports trainer.
Right. So you've
We're not
seen someone
talking
take
about-
gear. You know they're not being careful. And so you give Barbarian a serum. Maybe he's not going to be all that careful.
Butt muscle injection healing potions only. Yeah, that's the greater healing serum. The four, what is it? 2d4, 4d4, 8d4? That one goes directly in the butt muscle. You're going to be sore for a round or two after that. Also, there was a whole discussion. I like how we've gone from rules as written to we're discussing healing potions again, which y'all, for those of you new here, this is not the first time this has happened. We had a whole discussion in the Discord, and I don't remember if it was my Discord, if it was the Emergency Power Podcast Discord, or it could have been both, because often these things happen in parallel, because there's a couple of the same people. Why have we all just agreed that we're not doing healing potion beer bongs? Have we all just agreed that we are all too dignified? Why the heck did Bo, the Minotaur, just not have 2 healing serums with straws hanging off?
So
you can absolutely flavor your potions as suppositories, Ribbonanza, if that is how you want to live your best TTRPG life.
But I think this is really important because breaking down, so like getting the role play to match the rule, I think adds a lot. And so when, so I'm over here, I'm like, a potion is a 2-ounce vial with a cork, and you mean to tell me it takes 6 whole, like, that's always going to be, I'm going to be hooked on that.
Camelback full of, yeah, I want a healing potion bra. I just keep like filling it back up.
The K suddenly becomes a double D. David is confused.
Look, I'm not going to say I haven't worn things to concerts.
Nope, we're not going to dwell on that. But yeah, so the idea of like, well, what does the application look like? Like the idea of like, well, it's honey, or it's something viscous,
right?
Or the idea that it's magic and the magic has to spin up, or it's a suppository, so you need help getting it in, because some of us are not all that flexible. All those things are an important adjustment to how the rule is written, because like there's such a big role playing difference, and that radiates out in how the potions are made and how the potions are stored and the sort of people who make it. There's a big difference between you go to an apothecary's house and they have a cauldron and they take a beer stein and then they ladle some stuff into it and then put a plug on the top. It is like, here's your healing potion. It'll take you 6 seconds to drink that. Versus like, there's this like they put a stick in there and they swirl it like taffy and then stuff it into and you're like, and even better, since it's a magic item, maybe that viscous substance moves a little bit. Maybe it claws its way down into your gullet. Like if the potion has to pop its head out and look around like a groundhog on the 1st of February, then yeah, it's going to take long. And so like that gives you an opportunity to like color things differently, and make it more consistent and make it more interesting and to add texture. Fruit by the foot healing serum.
Cotton candy. I love this. And yeah, Leslie says it would take me more than 6 seconds for a healing suppository. Just the contemplation alone of whether it's worth it.
Right. Yeah. Like how bad is this bullet wound? Am I gonna be okay?
But yeah, and so, we talk about rules as written, and then it's really cool that, thank you so much, Logar, for throwing that out, because that just made, like, everything click. It's like, oh yeah, that's exactly why that, instead of breaking down the 2 ounces, like, yeah, it's a magical item, and it has to be activated. Cool. Like, that makes sense. when David and I ran Godplane, the players, the audience could tip, and depending on how much they tipped our players, different items would unlock. And one of the things we unlocked was, so as those who have played the Godplane know, any food, drink, or healing serums, that anything you consume that you had before the God plane sometimes gets a little weird, a little fucky wucky in the God plane, because dreams and God spaces, and But one of the items we gave them was not just it was a healing potion, but they were these weird blue healing potions it was less of a liquid in the bottle and more of a mist that kind of floated within the glass. And we said these you can use as a bonus action, because you just have to break this glass and inhale the mist. So we had
we gave him Vicks Vapor Rub.
Basically, you didn't even have to rub it in. You just held it.
Rub it on your chest and your feet, and you're good. Don't rub it on your feet. Gross. Don't do that.
A suppository would be a 3-round action, David says. I'm not reading the rest of that.
Nope.
Got to be here live for that one. Bane activating venom into his mask. But yeah, so this is a little bit of why David and I like to sit down and play systems as written. And as I was saying before, we were having a whole conversation, and I think this is like part either 3 or 4 of the Rules Light systems conversation that we've had in my Discord. Because I have really enjoyed a lot of the Rules Light games that I have played, especially as one-shots, but when I get into longer systems, I have a really hard time with Rules Light. And I think there's a couple reasons, which one is consent, and the second is they're not actually rules light, they're mechanics light. They're very heavy on rules in areas that I don't want there to be rules, which is part of why I have difficulty with them. I think. We're still working this out, y'all. We spend a lot of time talking about this. So it's really good to sit down and play a game, even if you don't necessarily like the rule. Even if you look at this and go, I'm not going to like it. Cool, you're allowed to. But we still encourage you to sit down and play, even if it's just one game. Play one game with the rule as written to see how it fits into the flow, to see how it feels. And then you can figure out how to tweak it so that it fits your table. Because I've always said the rules are there to enable and enhance storytelling, not to prevent it, which is why I wrote Mimics and Misfits game. I'm sorry, Matt. Hey, Eric, thank you for hanging out. And yes, thank you, that Kato, for those gift subs. Turned into a wake-up stick, what they wave under. Yeah, one of those, like, smelling salts. Yes. Sorry, I am catching up on chat because I was talking for a hot second and people appeared. Did I see that Candace is here?
They are
just someone referencing?
They're lurking.
Okay. I saw someone reference Candace. I'm like, did I miss Candace? But yes. David, you had more to say about rules as written. And I really hate that that's abbreviated RAW.
Yeah. I will admit that in conceiving both the topic and the things that I wanted to say, I came up with no less than 37 filthy jokes about Raw, and I've used none of them and deserve a cookie.
Well, since you haven't, I will. Like, don't be afraid to occasionally just sit down and raw dog a game.
Yeah, sometimes to really feel it, it's got to be raw. Anyway.
In a row?
37. Try not to suck any. Anyway. And you know what? I am going to suck one on the way to the parking lot just to spite you. Also,
if y'all haven't seen Clerks, that's heckin' funny.
The Clerks was what, 1991? If she counts 37, one, that's not enough. And two, All that matters is that you're 38. 1 through 37 doesn't matter. And was it? I think it was Silent Bob who was like, "Yo, she brings you lasagna, like homemade lasagna for lunch at work. You work at the Quick Stop." Maybe you hold on to that one.
Thank you for the resub, Matt.
Absolute wisdom.
Yes.
Silent Bob rarely speaks, but when he speaks, golden. Um, but rules is written. We're talking about raw. We're talking about taking it raw. I listen. I avoided it this whole time, and here we are. But why should you play a game rules is written? And the answer is, yeah, she changed his tire too. Like, put a rig on it, bro. You work at the Quick Stop. Like, who are you shooting for? Bridget Nielsen is out of your league, bro. Put a ring on it. Anyway.
And also, we know for a fact that she's freaky.
Right.
Like, she more freaky than she intended to be, but she freaky.
Like, you'd rather someone have practiced 37 times than 0 times. Okay?
I am so excited to see what this clip is, Kato.
I am not. Oh my god. But yes, rules is written. Why you want it raw sometimes? Because it's important. Like everybody has looked up a recipe online.
We're professionals.
Gone through. Clerks is written.
Clerks is written. Here we go.
Everybody's like gone on a recipe online, gone to allrecipes.com because Chef John sent you there. And if you don't know Chef John, then you don't know internet YouTube cooking personalities. And you know, you get through the life story, you get through the poor lady's divorce. Her experiences being abducted by aliens multiple times, and then you get down
like
to the
picture
recipe
of her family, her 6 dogs.
Right. And then underneath it, there are always comments. And comments are either 5 out of 5, except instead of using pasta, I used river rocks. Or 1 out of 5. Instead of using pasta, I used weapons grade plutonium, and it tasted fine, but I put on a whole lot of weight, and now I'm in the hospital. And it's like, yo, this isn't. It's one thing when, you know, you are a professional cook or you have a lot of experience digging into the science of cooking. You understand the balance
Especially
of things.
baking.
Oh yeah,
Especially baking.
The worst are the baking recipes where it's like you use this much water to this much flour, and then they're like, I added like 2 cups extra flour, and it came out dry and flat, and it was awful. 0 out of 10, and it's like,
I get furious because, like, and look, I understand dietary restrictions. I am 100%. Like, I feel for everyone with serious dietary restrictions, no problem. But people will be on this and be like, okay, so instead of eggs, I used nothing. And instead of regular sugar, I used nothing but stevia. And instead of, milk, I used, almond milk. And it's like...
And then I didn't put any salt in it.
Right. And they're like, and then it was, nothing happened. And I'm like, yes, because you took out all of the things that make chemical reactions happen that make baking be baking. It's science. It's chemistry.
Right. Sugar is not just a sweetener. Sugar is an emulsifier and changes the texture of things. Salt is not just a seasoning. It has a very important chemical reaction, not only on the food that you're making, but on the tongue when you're eating it. It's why I can't like you want to tell me you know nothing about cooking when somebody is like, yeah, I made brownies or a cake or whatever, and I didn't have eggs, so I just threw some mayo in it. And then someone goes, "Ew, why would you do it?"
Yeah.
What do you think it made out of? What do you think it made out of? They didn't put Miracle Whip in it. They put mayo in it.
Whip. Whip.
Whip.
And yes,
And
baking
so
is alchemy. Zero
right.
question. I am the
I'm
one
the
who
one who
needs.
needs.
That's what my cat says. How do you feel about people just writing eggs in baking, but
So
it being a common unwritten rule that it should be large eggs?
So there's actually like a discussion about this in historical circles, because if you look up recipes from like the 1600s and 1700s, they're literally like recipes where it goes yeah, and the usual, or and etc., or use blank, and then no one knows what it is because you look up a definition for it, and the definition is literally everyone knows what this is.
Yeah. What does Starfinder say about egg size? Leslie, what does Starfinder say about egg size?
And so like and also like with baking, like I don't take any baking recipe seriously that does volume instead of weight. If I'm watching a video and they're like, yeah, you put in 2 cups of flour, I turn it off and I go somewhere else.
Oh. Oh, that's interesting, Matt.
There, look,
Yeah.
it's okay to play Dungeons and Dragons, and it's okay if the dragon is bad, but only behind closed doors. Okay? And if there are eggs involved, doubly behind closed doors. Because my first thought is, oviposition.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, I used to be the lead moderator for DeviantArt for 15 years. So that particular model that was both a dragon of the bad variety and laid eggs, yeah, I knew all about that. Knew all about that. I saw the words on Reddit response and closed the tab. Yeah. So here's the thing. D&D, in case you somehow don't know, is very queer. Starfinder and Pathfinder are even more queer because it's made by people who are like, we are queer and we are telling queer stories. Starfinder and Pathfinder are also very, very furry. And My Little Ponies and furries are not exactly the same, but there is, that's a pretty sizable Venn diagram. And again, I was the moderator at DeviantArt. I have zero problem with furries. I am really good friends with multiple furries. One of my friends put herself through college drawing nothing but this shirt needs to go. There's multiple. How did I get multiple? I like this shirt.
Gil.
It's not Gil.
Gil.
It's a very old, thin shirt. Y'all, you can't see it here. This is the best shirt my mother ever gave me. I don't think you can read it.
Wait.
It says,
Show me again, because I can read it. I'm not a princess. I don't need saving. I'm a queen. I got this shit handled. Thanks, Mom.
My mom and I are very different people, and we don't often get each other. But she gave me this. Mwah. Yeah, Gil is often a shoulder cat. However, this is one of those, those super thin shirts that just it was begging to have holes from the day I got it. Yes, the Mothman has visited me. Rip and respect to anyone who does lead mod for something that size. It was very interesting. I certainly have no shortage of body horror imagery to bring into my horror games. And I run a lot of horror games. And as you are newer here, and perhaps you don't know, when David and I were writing our horror games, I would wake up at 3 a.m. from something, text him like, hey, describe a thing that I saw in a dream. Is this weird or scary? And my phone would ring and he'd be like, are you okay? Do you need to talk about something? And I'm like, what? No, it was just a weird dream. I wasn't sure if it was scary or weird. And he's like, I can't even do the face that he does.
Yeah.
But I can see.
And Kay could sense the face
Yes.
through the text
Yes.
message.
Um,
It's like, you good? You good?
yeah, there's
You
always and
good?
Kato, I can say nothing about that question. Yes, and Urban Bohemian and Candace were both in the campaign 2 of the God Plane, and wow, it was a really, really, really good one. And there were terrifying sand winds.
Yeah, those were good.
I was really curious to see what the captions would do, but yes, sand penguins.
So
We got derailed
after
from rules.
after the slippery slope of people who don't know how to cook, who go around changing things without it, and that's ultimately why. Like, you have to know why the eggs are in the brownies. You have to know why the flour is in the bread. You play games rules as written to see how all these components interact and see how they leaven the bread. You see how they add texture to your cheesecake. And if you go and start tinkering with things without having that understanding first, then you end up with so many people on the internet who like make a casserole and put 3 times as much cheese as they're supposed to, and they're like, this is a goopy mess, this is awful. And it's like, you got to play rules as written, because if you don't, then you'll end up with a goopy mess and no one's having a good time.
You got to play
There
Skyrim
are-
vanilla before you mod it, says Vivian.
Right. And once you understand both the flow of the game and the spirit of the game and what the designer is shooting for, then you can go. Mimics and Misfits says, David, I'm right here. I am satisfied with my cheese choices. I saw a TikTok today about not a grilled cheese, but a chilled grise. And so where it's like you put cheese down, so like you toast a piece of bread, then you put cheese down in the pan, put the toasted cheese on top of it. And then he made a grilled cheese out of the chilled grise. And I was like, y'all need to stop. Like, this man must be stopped. That's probably delicious. Anyway.
What was the horrible one of the guy who froze SpaghettiOs and then made a sandwich out of it? He froze SpaghettiOs in a thin sheet and then he cut it in half and then put, I think, peanut butter or something terrible on the inside and then put the 2 pieces, like he cut it triangularly and then...
Look, I saw a whole rant about the coleslaw popsicles. Because, like, I sent you a picture of the coleslaw popsicles.
So many people sent me the coleslaw popsicles.
Because you have to know.
Look, my bean dice are excellent. They roll like shit. Ask Adam. However.
They are cool. Listen, if I'm in your house and you go to the freezer and pull out coleslaw, I'm not going to call the authorities because it's not that grave a sin. But we are going to go out on the front lawn and fist fight, okay?
The thing you sent me about the guy who's like, I made barbecue in the slow cooker. And the guy's like, I'm sure it's good, but it's not barbecue. He's like, no, it's barbecue because I use liquid smoke. And he's like, that doesn't count. And he's like, I shredded the jackfruit myself. And he's like, So, but coleslaw popsicles are created rules as written. Kato, you are chaos, and I love it. Now I want ice frozen D20s.
I will say that, okay, so like everybody who's like a serious classy drinker, including Kay, has different ice molds. And I've got ice molds for like big cubes and small cubes.
This whole
my
episode
buddy
is
Fig,
such chaos.
right. My buddy Fig
spheres.
has the spheres. Kay has spheres. I want a silicone D20 ice cube mold, and I will make like once I have that,
like this size.
Yeah, like that size.
Because you know who makes D20 molds. You know who made the
True.
molds that this D20 came out of. Think Geek used to
Um,
sell them.
I mean, Think Geek. One of them went away. Was it Think
Is
Geek
it
that went
still
away?
derailing if you don't remember what the tracks looked like? Okay, so we're talking about rules as written, which again,
Right.
so you play the rules as written, so you understand how the game works. Just like you make the recipe as it's written, so you understand what it tastes like, and then you could be, you know what, I would like more cheese. However,
And the best example of this is you have Bidgie with Babish. His like the famous thing that he made from a movie was Chef or whatever the movie with the guy who made the Marvel movies. Anyway, it's pasta, olive oil, and garlic. I'm not going to butcher the Italian there. He put lemon juice in it, which is not a traditional ingredient. Like the Italians are like, how dare you put lemon in this? And so I went out and I made it. I bought 2 pounds of pasta and a couple of heads of garlic and a bunch of parsley. And then I went and found somebody. I'm like, listen, you're going to gain 2 pounds this week because I'm going to fill you up with pasta. And I started making it. And over the course of about 2 weeks, I made it about 6 times. I made it with the lemon juice and without the lemon juice. And guess what? It comes out like they're different recipes. They come out differently because they do. Yeah, John Favreau. Um, they so the lemon juice makes it better because it cuts through the heaviness of the sauce, the emulsification of the. But here's the thing: if you're serving it with something that's already tangy, if you're serving it with something that already has a lot of that like citrusy element, like if you're doing it like if you're doing like a little pile of carnitas on top or so, then you don't need the lemon juice. And it's important to understand the role that the lemon juice plays, just like when we were talking about the healing potions. You got to get to the bottom of why this was designed a certain way to see how it fits into the mechanics, because one could argue that that adding healing during a fight is a mechanical waste. Like I've read multiple articles where they're like, if you're a cleric or you're a paladin and you have cure light wounds, don't use it mid combat, because action economy wise, it is a big detriment. And then so you want to put the healing potion on the same level as these healing spells that you can cast, so that your potions don't give a huge mechanical advantage. And that all makes sense, except Kay and I, when we design fights, we understand this balance between the two. The importance of action economy, how the flow of the game works. We get that, and then we plan for it. And so we'll either add an extra legendary action to like a big bad, or we'll pad out HP, given that you now have more efficient action economy on the player's side. So you have to give that on the enemy side. And here's the other thing: every bandit you run into in our games could have a healing potion on them.
mm-hmm.
Everyone who's played a game with a very significant boss fight hates two things: one, invincibility phases, and two, when the asshole heals himself. And so in 99% of the combats we've run, you won't see somebody that you're fighting hold up a 2-ounce vial, pop it open, and then try to pour honey down their throat over the next 6 seconds, because that sucks. And like, yeah, we try to get our enemies to behave in a sensible way. Like, if you fight a bunch of a pack of feral cats, no, you fight like a bunch of cassowaries, and they're just digging into your guts and ruining your whole shit, they're not gonna back off. But if you absolutely body one cassowary, the other ones are going to look at each other and be like, "Is this worth it?" And some of them might take off. If a wild animal is hunting you to eat you, and has otherwise natural like instincts, like isn't under some sort of spell, isn't diseased, isn't starving, yada. If it's just like, you look tasty, I'm gonna try to eat you, and then you boop it on the nose hard enough, it's gonna be like, listen, bro, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I thought you looked like a 7-Eleven that was open. Obviously, this place is closed for business. I'm gonna go find another 7-Eleven. Like, see ya. Like,
Also, rules is written. GM trick. If you want your players to really, really, really hate your big bad, if you want your players to hate someone that they're fighting more than anything, if you want them to go reckless and all in and just absolutely decide we have to go full murder hobo on this individual, just have them counterspell a healing spell.
yeah.
Your players
yeah.
will kill them, attend their funeral, dig them back up, kill them again.
Your players will go full elephant.
Yes. There is no more effective way to make sure that your bad guy is enemy number one than counterspelling a healing spell. And I always get really sad when I have an enemy that I can do that and no one casts healing. And I'm like, darn, I wanted to counterspell that because I wanted you to know just how much you hate this guy.
Especially if somebody's rolling death saving throws. Ooh.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I've only gotten to do it once. Nothing feels better as a player, as a GM, in life. Like, you may have parachuted out of a perfectly good airplane with a sheet strapped to your back. You may have experienced fine dining. You may have married the love of your life. Nothing feels better than counterspelling a healing spell on someone who's doing real bad with their death saving throws.
And speaking of modifying rules as written, we have all played the death save thing, right? And we all know how we feel when we're making death saves. And it is only when you know the stress of making death saves in the middle of combat and trying to decide what you're going to do that you realize the brilliance of the hidden death save roll, where only the GM and the person making the death saves get to see what was rolled. If you want to turn up tension in a fight or in a game, that, my friends, is how you do it.
And here's the other thing. Here's the other important thing about rules as written. And it goes back to what Qasim, and I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly, except I played Bloodborne. And like, they're just the line that stuck in my head is Kos, or also known as Qasim, and I'm like, why did you write this into? Never mind. Anyway, if you're same thing with the recipe. Like, everybody has systems they like and systems they don't like, and we've done entire episodes on why we not dislike, but why we have problems with certain systems. We were talking earlier about like the problems with Powered by the Apocalypse. Is it Powered by the Apocalypse?
Rules light in general, but
Rules light in general.
that's the best known, probably.
Cost, or some say cost. Right, precisely. Listen, ribbon. And it's important that you play rules as written, so that you can earnestly say, these are things I don't like, these are things I like. Because multiple times we've talked to people in the community where, and like, even before I started doing the talk show, even before I started working with Kay, I've talked to people about like experiences they've had with tabletop, and they're like, oh, this and this I didn't like. And I'm like, where did that come from? How did you run into that? And they're like, oh, well, I played with so-and-so, and then they told us that this and this was the, and I'm like, but none of that's in the book.
Yeah.
And you hated it, but it wasn't a real thing. You know, as much as any of this is a real thing.
Right. I am going to say, I'm going to quote what Cato said because it makes me so happy. Cato said, counterspelling a healing spell or a revivify. Your party will take that healing spell, turn it into a suppository, and give it to the big bad.
Yep. Absolutely.
But and sometimes, because let's talk about things that aren't actually rules as written. There are almost group skill checks are not a thing. Rules as written in 5e.
Yep.
There's a whole bunch of things that we do that is a holdover from 3.5 that are nowhere in the Dungeons Master Guide, but we all use them. And again, I'm not saying don't play with those. In fact, I was telling David, I was this month, maybe last month, years old when I learned that I have been doing a Matt Mercer homebrew rule as a mechanic for my entire GMing career because it is so perfect and elegant that I didn't know it wasn't in the rule book. And that is, if you're like, I'm gonna lie to someone, or like if it can be NPC, but also within the party is when I most often use it. Yes, 5e does rely heavily on legacy knowledge. So at what point is that rules is written and at what point, anyhow. But if someone says, I want to insight check either another player or an NPC, my answer is cool, and I turn to the player, or if I'm the GM, I will do it behind the screen, and I will say, roll either deception or persuasion and tell me what you get. Don't tell me which one you're rolling. Because that way, and then if they beat it, they're either very persuasive or their lie is convincing. And if their deception or persuasion roll does not beat the insight check, then it's like, all right, tell them, if you're rolling deception, right, tell them what they hear. That is so perfect and slick and elegant and makes so much sense to me that I found out only this month, or maybe it was during July, timey-wimey, I don't know, that's nowhere in the books. That's just a thing that Matt Mercer does. There is no surprise round in 5e, no matter how many times players tried to cause one. It's a good one. You can absolutely surprise the GM. Starfinder, which I still have a hard time with sometimes because I forget, surprise rounds are a thing, but you can only do one thing. You can either do an action or a movement. And I always try, especially because I'm melee class. I'm like, cool, I'm going to walk up and hit him. And it's like, no, you don't get to do that. And it's like, but I'm melee to the tune of, but I'm a cheerleader. But I'm a melee fighter.
And like the opposite is true too. So like you'll go and you'll be like, oh man, I hate this thing in whatever system we're playing, and it doesn't actually exist in that system. And so you don't hate the system, you hate whatever weird thing that dude came up with. But also, like multiple Matt Mercer rules, stuff that we've stolen from Connie Chang, the evener odds
Luck from
luck
Backwater.
roll, the magical pocket lint that I stole from my first D&D session back in high school. I was like, this is coming with me forever. All of it, all of these things are things that I was like, oh man, this is awesome, that weren't necessarily part of the system. And so like, if you don't play rules as written, then you don't get the, oh man, I really like this part of this particular system. This really jives with me. You don't get that clarity. And so it's tough to go and find other systems that do the same thing. So like if you're playing one of the flavors of Powered by the Apocalypse and you're like, oh man, this is great. And then you go out and find one of the other like 400 systems that's powered by the Apocalypse and you're not having as good a time, it's because that element that made you interested in it in the first place isn't actually part of the system. And so it's important to play rules as written because and Kay and I both encourage all of our watchers, everyone we meet, play multiple systems. Like with the exception of Candace and Kay, if you think you're playing enough tabletop, you are not. Go out and play more. Go do it.
I
And
still have a
also
lot of catching
play.
up to do.
Listen, you're slammed for the next like 2 weeks. You get approximately 15 minutes off, and that is all cat time.
Yeah, but a lot of that are systems I know already.
I know, but the point is, you're playing enough. Like according to this, you're playing enough TTRPGs.
Right? Why do I have
Yeah,
to work?
just
Why
tabletop.
can't I just tabletop? Like that's what I want to do.
Listen,
But it's
that is the dream.
right.
That is the dream.
It's also important to play different systems to figure out what it is about TTRPGs that you like. And this is why I spend a lot of time dissecting. Like if I like a system, cool, I like a system. I'm going to add this. Like I took from, for those of you who are newer here, Backwater, the Backwater system, which is this great Southern Gothic horror game that I really enjoy. They have a system where when you create a character, you say, "Is my luck?" You say my luck is even or my luck is odd, and you just say that at character creation, even or odd. You pick. And then when you get into a situation, when you want to do a luck roll, because 5e is lacking in a luck mechanic, when I'm like, this could go either way, and I kind of want to let the dice decide, right? You roll any dice, any of traditional dice. Don't roll a d7, but roll any one of these standard D&D dice you can roll, and if your luck, if what you rolled is even and your luck is even, you get lucky. If your luck is odd and you roll even, you don't get lucky. And it is so slick and simple and easy. Someone did a whole thing on, they made like a complete set of 10 D&D looking dice, but they were all like weird prime numbers, and it was hilarious. They gave them to a bunch of friends, and the friends were like angry and delighted at the same time. You can do a D32. That's a perfect use for a D32 because it's an even number. So you have equal chances of evens or odds. But I was going somewhere with all of this. But if I like a system, I'll be like, yes, I like this, and this mechanic from over here is going to make my job as a GM, as a storyteller, easier. So that's what I'm going to do, right? If I don't like a system, I start obsessing over it. And it's not because I'm like, I hate this system, I want it. It's because I'm like, what is it about it? There was one system in particular that I never played on stream. It was a private home game. And I was obsessed for about a month and a half with like how it was so close. It was infuriating because it was so close. Like I wanted to play the system, but I couldn't tell the stories that I wanted to tell in that system. And I spent like a month and a half going, okay, well, what if I take this? Well, what if I do this? Well, what if I break this down? And I'm still spending a lot of time talking about systems that I either dislike or I like, but I'm not sure I want to play again, or I don't think I'd ever play this outside of a one-shot. Like, I spend a lot of time thinking about that because it helps me understand, A, myself as a storyteller and as a player, but also other types of players and other types of storytellers. And it took my playing a rules light-er, not true rules light, but a rules light-er system with someone who really enjoys and is good at this particular kind of rules light-er system. And I was watching him play, and I'm like, you're treating the entire game is a puzzle for you. You are, yes, playing a character, but you as the player are conscious of the entire game, and what's more important to you is using the mechanics of the system rather than telling the story as a character. And once I watched, oh, he's doing the game is a game. Like, the game is a game, yes, but the game isn't a game in the way the game is a game for me. The game is a puzzle in that the system is a thing, and he's cracking the code too. That's why other people enjoy this. And it took me playing a system that I don't particularly enjoy, with someone who knows and enjoys the system to go, oh, that's what's going on with this system. I get it. That doesn't mean I'm going to like it, but I get it, and that tells me more about how some players work so that I can be a better GM and storyteller for people I might tell stories with. That was a lot of words.
And I mean, like, I had the same thing happen because I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. A friend of mine is playing Tears of the Kingdom, and he's like, I don't like it. I'm like, well, why not? And he's like, I'm kind of bored. And I'm like, listen, you signed up for an action adventure game, except what you got was a puzzle game. It is an open world puzzle game. Because one of his complaints was like, he's like, I find the combat really boring. And I'm like, you find the combat really boring because no one told you that the combat is a puzzle. Like, everything in that game can be defeated by bridge. Like, if you make a bridge, if you bridge it up, then like 85-90% of the puzzles, including combat, can be solved by bridge. And once you understand that the shrines, the combat, the traversal, like every aspect of that game is a different, like the food system, it's all puzzle game, then you're like, oh man, I'm playing puzzle game. And if you don't like puzzle games, you won't like Tears of the Kingdom. If you like open world action adventure RPGs, like if you played Assassin's Creed and loved it, and then sit down in front of Tears of the Kingdom expecting the same experience, it's a totally different experience. And so, like like understanding what you're looking for, because again, we've played with people who are like, we want to play a dungeon crawler, we want to get in there and we want to smack monsters, and then get to the end, crack open the chest, and then here the princess is in another castle, and then go find another castle. And for Kay and I, that isn't the most like engaging gameplay that we can do. And on this channel and with games we run, you're not going to see that content. And there's nothing wrong with that content, but if you don't understand what you're looking for, then you're going to continue running into experiences that you don't like. And part of the journey to understanding what you're looking for is getting to the essence of whatever game that you are playing, so that you can understand the fundamentals of the gameplay loop and what appeals and doesn't appeal to you. And if the game is lying to you, you're going to have a harder time doing that.
And another reason, again, to play a lot of systems is different systems lend themselves to different kinds of games, and you can spend forever trying to force a certain game to tell the story you want when there's probably an easier way to do it. Or, figure out why something isn't working for you. A lot of people say that you really can't do good horror in 5e. I think you can. I think we pulled it off with very few exceptions, but also, hey, Jen, a very tightly controlled narrative space, right? But we spent a lot of time talking about how I struggle with rules light, and for a while I wrote it off as I think it's a control thing, right? I have a hard time with control. But then just last week when we were talking with Jason Cordova about the Gauntlet games, he was talking about in this horror game, it wasn't trophy. In one of the horror games, the way it is set up is, it's got the rules light feel of like, okay, if you do this, and something bad might happen. And it is built into the core rule system for the GM to say, what are you afraid might happen? And the player says, I'm afraid I will fall down this cliff. And the GM pulls a card or makes a roll to see if it is good, bad, or really bad. And if it's really bad, the GM says, okay, actually, you're unlucky in this, so you're not only going to fall down the cliff, there's a really good chance that you're going to, break your ankle or break your wrist, or maybe it's not that extreme, right? But like twist your ankle, so you're not going to be able to run for a little bit if this happens. Do you want to do it? And I'm like, that explains my problem with a lot of rules light, because I can't know what the consequences are. So maybe it is a little bit of control, but it's mostly consent, because I have no idea what I'm consenting to in any given action. And that makes me not take action. And it took me playing multiple games and talking to people about multiple systems to figure out what was that hot button. And I haven't figured it all out yet. There's still more things for me to figure out. But if you only play a game once and then go, hated it, didn't like it, want to play the dragon game forever. And if you really like the dragon game, there's nothing wrong with playing the dragon game. David and I play a metric ton of the dragon game. I love the dragon game. I'm not ashamed to say it. But I really like some other systems too. And I know why I like these things. And I know I watched that bronze girl, Jasmine Bular, go, I really like clocks from Blades in the Dark. So you know what? When it comes to my 5e game and my players trying to accomplish things like learn a new language or learn a new skill, I'm going to do it as a clock. Because that makes it super easy for everyone, and we can track progress, and we can keep track of all of our side projects that way. And it's not a one-time pass or fail. And that's a brilliant use of it, and she would never have brought clocks into her game if not for Blades in the Dark.
Yeah, there are so many things that we pick up. And that's another thing. It's like understanding where things come from is important. Mm-hmm. Like if you're pulling something from a system, well, like for one, I like to attribute like everything that, like if it's a Matt Mercer rule, we're like, okay, this is a Matt Mercer rule. If it's a K rule, I'm like, listen, the brilliant mind that came up with this was not me, it was K. But
K mostly steals from Brennan Lee Mulligan, let's be honest.
I mean, we all steal from Brennan Lee Mulligan. If Matt Mercer has not stolen from Brennan Lee Mulligan, Matt Mercer is wrong.
Matt Mercer learned the blue tack on the minis trick from Brennan Lee Mulligan, and Brennan learned the roll insight against deception or persuasion from Matt Mercer. It's really fun watching people swap their tips.
Right. And it makes all of us better. It's like people who have secret recipes. Get out of here. I want nothing to do with you. Because what you're doing is denying the enrichment of everyone around you. Like, if it's like, oh, well, it's got a secret ingredient. What is it? Tell me what it is so I can go. Because I'm not going to go and make a thing and be like, this is my special recipe. I'm going to be like, hey, I learned this from so-and-so. So put that in your food. It'll be great. And one thing I read a long time ago that really like crystallized that for me is a lot of people are hesitant to tell you their secret ingredient or whatever their secret recipe or whatever because their secret ingredient is a can of Campbell soup. Their secret ingredient is they bought a pack of cinnamon rolls and put them in the oven because their secret ingredient is not actual cooking.
I have one cookie recipe that everyone loses their minds over and everyone wants the recipe. And I'm like, this is boxed cake mix and a jar of a thing. And yes, I do work to it, but it's like, if you knew what was actually in this, you would think less of me. So I really don't want to tell you because I'll tell you any other recipe. Just this is primarily boxed yellow cake. 100% guilty. That's the one recipe I don't give out.
Do not have a recipe for coleslaw popsicles. Who we do? Kato said, you still have not given me your recipe for. You still have not given me your recipe for coleslaw popsicles. David, no.
Yes. Rex, I do a similar thing. When I make sugar cookies, I add a little dash of whiskey into it, and it just makes the sugar cookies so much richer. Also, we all live in a hot climate now because, thanks planet, meal prep your desserts. Get little mason jars, I just get like the instant pudding, like the chocolate pudding. Make that, put in a little bit of whiskey, and then get a thing of whipped cream, like the Cool Whip,
Cool whip.
half in mixed with the pudding. Spoon all of that into your mason jars. Scoop a little bit, like section out the remaining whipped cream, put that on top. Sprinkle pecans, chocolate chips. Screw it all up. Put it in the freezer. Take it out a little bit before you're ready to eat. Perfectly chilled, delicious dessert. And in the freezer, they don't go bad.
Kay just outed herself as Southern.
I meal
because
prep
she
my
said-
desserts.
Because she said pecan. She said it the right way. If you are north of the Mason-Dixon, you say pecan, and please stop.
You don't want some pecan pie?
Ooh!
What's a pecan at?
If you have pecan pie, pecan. If you got any of that, I don't want it. We got pecan pie. No, you don't. What you got over there? I don't know what it is, but I don't want it.
Pralines.
Yeah. Cool.
Yes, you missed our whole rules as written compared to ingredients and baking, Jen. Which is like, don't start substituting, an ounce of cheese for an entire bag of cheese before you know how much cheese makes it a goopy mess.
Unless you are misfits, mimics and misfits, and then,
You do what you want, because we're not going to stop you. Because then you're going to need that suppository because you ate all that cheese.
Yeah. You are going to need a healing suppository. The question is, does cure light wounds become a suppository? And if so, does that mean cause light wounds also becomes a suppository? And listen, lactose intolerance has come out quite a bit this week.
It really
and I don't
has.
know why.
I blame you.
That's fair. It's fair. Yeah, it's like chai tea. It's like ATM machine.
There was a whole debate, and it was not like I watched it happen several times on Dimension 20 without anything, but there was a whole a table broke down because someone was unconscious making death saves, and someone was like, they're fine, I'm going to feed them a good berry, but you have to eat the good berry. And they were like, a good berry requires you to masticate it and chew it. So a good berry cannot bring you back to 1 health.
Challenge accepted.
It was the table derailed to the point of someone I put it in their mouth and then I spin my turn, taking their jaw.
Yeah. It's like CPR, but a good berry.
Yes, baby bird it. Yeah, I have
Chew
never
it up
seen.
and then tongue kiss him.
I have never seen a table turn against a GM that fast.
They're like, look, we're gonna make this work.
So, all right, we are at an hour and 46 minutes. So I think, it's like trying to have a pill a cat, exactly. So we're probably going to wind this down. Thank you all for the wonderful derailing conversations. Goodness, thank you, Jazzy, for the raid. Thank you, Kato, for all of the gift subs. Thank you for the follows, TTRP gifts. Thank you, Robo, Cobalt Squirrel, Kosum, King Sundu, Atomic Deke. Thank you so much for the follows. Thank you, Mimics and Misfits, for the resub. Thank you for using that Prime sub. Take the money out of Jeff Bezos' pockets. If you don't spend it, he gets to keep it. Yes, thank you for joining us. Oh, dear. Nothing in the rules said
Nothing in the
Goodberry
rules
has to go
says
in
the
their
Goodberry has to go in their mouth. Oh, man. Everything is a suppository.
Yes, this was a really, really fun conversation. We are super lucky in that we have an incredible chat. I am so grateful to all of chat who shows up every week. We have a wonderful time, even if we get derailed. Y'all, we tried to talk about race and species and all of those terms, and we got completely derailed and ended up spending the entire episode talking about centaur accessibility.
Yeah,
So,
which is still a very important. We got it.
few things get David
We came
riled
up
up
with
as
a couple
much.
of solutions.
Few
Came up with some good
things
solutions.
compared to centaur accessibility.
I did not know I had a soapbox about centaur accessibility until it happened.
Yes, we Leslie, you're musically inclined. How can we get a everything is a suppository song? How do you feel about centaurs riding a horse, David?
I'm checking to see the size of their size is medium, which means they could probably ride a horse.
Let me sit on that for a bit. I know that's not what that was in reference to, but it works on so many levels. Everything is awesome to everything in your bum.
So what, okay, the really big horses.
Clydesdales.
Yeah,
Hi, I'm a horse
Clydesdales.
girl. Or at least I used to be a horse girl. Baby K was
Which
a horse
explains so much. But
girl. You've seen me with my little cowboy hat and my boots and my horse.
Yeah, the whole horse, even the ass.
Even
Anyway,
the ass half.
so yeah, so like if you have a Clydesdale, you could probably. So like the question is, how much can centaur legs like bow?
They could just lift them up a lot and have like a long saddle across the back of a Clydesdale, because those are like draft horses. Those are thick and dense. So you could just. Do they have short pony legs or much stronger human torsos?
So they're like
Or much
7
shorter.
feet. So they have like normal human torso and normal horse body. But my complaint is the weight, because you can only put so much weight on a horse.
We are gods. I don't know that this episode is ever.
How much does a centaur weigh? Google, tell me. Oh, they know I was coming. 2,100 pounds. So no, they cannot ride horses. A literal ton.
Signs you are too heavy for your horse. Irish Draught. A draft breed horse. Widely used for farm work. Why are we doing this?
Because we have to suffer.
Why are we here? Can a horse carry a 300-pound horse? Can a horse carry a 300-pound person? Some horses can carry a 300-pound rider, but your balance is also important. If you don't have good balance, it'll be very difficult for even the largest horses to comfortably carry that weight.
I'll put it this way. I am not going to get on the back of a horse. I am not going to do that to a horse. So a centaur definitely cannot.
Very few breeds of horse are able to carry a person weighing 350 pounds safely and comfortably. You may be able to find a horse that could stand the Perthshire Flemish and within the Perthshire Flemish or Clydesdale breeds. Horses are good for riders up to the mid 200s weight, if I recall correctly. Reduce and enlarge on either the centaur or the horse. I mean, I feel like
I would definitely enlarge the horse.
Reduce and enlarge seems to just cure most things. Yeah, the real question is, why haven't we done this sooner? Yeah. All right, chat. You have been wonderful in humoring us, derailing us, adding to the conversation in a brilliant way, and finally resolving once and for all why it takes 6 seconds to activate a potion. We got it. It makes sense now.
Yeah.
David can still rant. but we do have at least a it's not scientific. It is the opposite of science. It is magic, and thus not scientific. We have a rules as written explanation, and we were here to talk about raw dogging games. So we have a rules
how
as
you
written
should take
explanation.
it raw sometimes.
Only sometimes. It doesn't have to be every time.
Only sometimes.
When you're feeling special and or spicy.
And always use protection.
The magical sciences, exactly. The poor scientist in my Girl by Moonlight game is having a real hard time with the science versus magic. David, who the heck is you, and what the heck is we doing here?
Hi, I'm David. I am one of Kay's cheerleaders, and this is the Chaotic Wholesome Talk Show, where every week we talk about stuff. We talk about Centaur accessibility. We talk about lactose intolerance, how to be a better player, how to be a better GM, all with a focus on inclusion and intersectionality so that everybody can have a good time.
And where else can we find you here on this channel?
You can find me here on Friday, sitting through cutscenes in Final Fantasy XIV. And if I'm lucky, you will also find some people in chat who will come and dance around me and shoot off fireworks while I am watching said cutscene. And they'll wait until I'm in the cutscene and then start shooting off the fireworks so that I can't see them. You will see me this Friday, but not next Friday. Yep.
Oh, that's good to know. I will take it off my... It is not... There is one less thing on my calendar for the next.
Yeah, so 21st, yes, 28th, no.
If it helps, Jen, he only just started. I mean, he had played before, but he only just started again playing. And yes, hi, I am Kay. I am the other half of Chaotic Wholesome Presents. I do lots of TTRPG stuff in addition to this. Tomorrow, please come right on back at 2:30 Pacific, 5:30 Eastern for the My Little Pony TTRPG. It's so pink and it's so sparkly, and magic makes it all complete. We're going to be playing that with DM Jazzy Hands, with Urban Bohemian, with Candace the Magnificent, and with Stellar Encore, my friend Pan. I cannot wait. I am so excited. It's going to be a wonderful time. And magic is definitely going to make it all complete. We are going to the Ponyville Bountiful Boutique Festival, which is easier to say than it is to type. Let me tell you, writing the outlines for this has not been fun because Bountiful Bouquet does not flow easily off the fingers. That is tomorrow. It is going to be this Wednesday and the upcoming Wednesday. You can find me here on Thursdays playing Pokemon because I have to not only catch them all, which I've already done, I have to catch them all shiny. Don't be like me. I've got a problem. Can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. Sundays, you can find me at Taverna on YouTube playing Girl by Moonlight, where my wonderful Thembo, curly-haired idiot, has been sent back to save the world, and they're the last person who should be in charge of something like that. Every other Wednesday, you can find me on the Emergency Power Podcast, where we are wrapping up Season 3, so if you are looking for a homebrew, Starfinder sci-fi, very queer game to catch up on, you can hop in at Season 3. We brought in 3 new characters, so there's lots of recaps to get you where you need to be, and then you can just dive right in with Season 3, Episode 1, and you can binge all of that and then decide if you want to go back to the earlier seasons. There's going to be some fun power packs and additional things coming out before we start recording that again. Anything else? Anything else I can talk about? And then come right back here Tuesdays for the talk show. And that's it for now. That's at least it I can talk about. Thank you all for hanging out. Thank you to all of our new followers. I said it before, but I'm going to do it again because I very much appreciate it. Thank you, DM Jazzy Hands, for the raid. Thank you, Robo TTRP Gifts, for the follow. Thank you, Combat Squirrel, Kosum, King Sundu, and Atomic Deek for the follows. Thank you, Kato, for the 5 gift subs. And thank you, Mimics and Misfits, for the resub. Let's see. Who we going to raid? Who we got going on? We got Platonic playing Dungeons and Dragons. We got some Tears of the Kingdom with Vanna. Travis Gafford is playing Magic the Gathering. He's a friend. Who we feeling? Anyone have someone I should raid who's not on that list? Because sometimes Twitch is like, you get this group of people to pick from. Thank you, Rex, for coming by. Thank you all of, like, chat, you're always incredible. Like, we would definitely not have kept up this show if chat were not so wonderful all the time, every
Absolutely.
time. So thank you. Yeah, let's go check out Platonic. That'll be fun. Oh, Stella Luna. Perfect. Let's do that. Back. Choo-choo-choo. Choo-choo-choo. Why are you not showing me?
It's on the LAN party live.
Oh, on. Okay. Thank you so much. We will do that. I will start that raid in just a second. And thank you again. Be great to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. Be excellent to others. Thank you for coming by, and we will see you hopefully tomorrow for ponies. Bye, y'all.